talked about the activities bar. We talked about charts. I think yesterday Joseph was able to differentiate between charts and teams, group charts and teams, right? And he was able to tell us that you can have close to 250 users in a chart, and he was able to demonstrate some processes on that. So, and also, I think we talked about the type of teams, the private, public, and the org-wide. I'm just trying to do a recap so we know what we've covered, then we can proceed afterwards. We talked about the chart, talked about the channels as well. So I'll be sharing my screen now so we can proceed into today's session, right? So one thing I would like us to know in Microsoft Teams as it is that in Microsoft Teams, it speaks to almost all the applications in Microsoft 365. So Microsoft Teams is just like an orb that has an architecture that touches all parts or most of the parts of Office 365. Talking about, I'm talking about the architecture of Microsoft Teams now. Talking about from charts to calendar to calls down to the sharing of files, down to user identity, down to the licensing. So let me start like this. For a user to be in Microsoft Teams, we know that the user needs to be provisioned on the Microsoft Entra ID page. Is either it's an hybrid user from your on-premise or is a user that is cloud-based, meaning that you have to create the user in the Entra ID platform, which you assign license to. And I believe Joseph was able to talk about the license, Microsoft Teams license, that you have to assign to a user. Now, when you assign Microsoft Teams license to a user, it comes with other components. Now, it comes with, you need your OneDrive, because when you are sharing a file on chats with one or more users, it is saved on your OneDrive for chats, right? And that's the relationship between Microsoft at Microsoft Teams and OneDrive. Now, I don't know if anybody have a question based on the I was talking about when you create a team, you can have different channels, and you can also share files within the channels so that it can be co-authored by the members of the channel. In that aspect, the files on channel, it's saved on SharePoint, which that's why we've covered most of the sessions for Entra ID, Exchange, the compliance, and also that of SharePoint before Teams, right? Because Teams speak to all the environments. So, so I don't know how many of us were able to create a team yesterday, but let me just create a test one so you can see how it speaks to what's it called, the SharePoint. So hello, I believe you can hear me, please. So I'm going to create a public for this test. We can also create a private, right? Yesterday, I think we talked about the how to create it, the teams and the channel. If you have any question, you can also leave it on the chat so I can view that. But I just want to continue from where Joseph stopped. So this is the team that is created. Now, this file here, right? When you go to the SharePoint, we are going to see a testing M365 that is already created. So when you upload a file, so when you upload, let's say, an attachment on your file, let me browse from this PC. Let me just upload a random file. Let's say this. When you upload the file, right, we are going to check on the SharePoint side. We are going to see this file uploaded to a SharePoint site. Can you hear me, please? Hello, can you hear me, please? I need to acknowledge that so that we are in Nigeria. We need to check the network itself so I don't get disconnected. So I might be asking that more often. Okay, so I'm waiting for the files itself to upload. When it's done uploading, we can post it on. Sorry about the voice. Is it okay now? Is it much okay? So I'm waiting for the file to upload, then I can post. So that's how you can upload a file on a channel. So when you come to file here, we are going to see that file. Then we can go to the SharePoint site. Let me log in, please. So if I'm just waiting for it to load so that we can sign in. Sorry for that. It's taking some time. So if you notice, you can see when you click on the file option, you can come to these three dots here and you can see open in SharePoint, right? Meaning that this file that it's created on the channel is relating to a SharePoint site. So I'm waiting for it to load. Sorry for that. I think my network is somehow slow. So if you open when this, I'm going to show you when it's done open or when it has opened, so we can see the file that when you create a channel, a lot of things comes with it, and that's what Joseph was trying to talk about yesterday, that the admin of the organization can decide to restrict that the administrator of a hello, can you hear me, please? Okay, thank you for acknowledging that. Sorry, I think. So the admin yesterday Joseph was making he mentioned something that the administrator based on the organization of teams in an organization, because one, when you create a team, a group, Microsoft 365 group is created, a SharePoint is created, and for the SharePoint that is created, remember that your SharePoint is based on a quota, which is so. Is it much better now? Is the sound much better now? Kindly acknowledge, please. So, okay, thank you for that. So, sorry for the inconvenience caused so far as a result of that. I think my network was good and the nature of the country. Apologies. So Joseph was saying something that an administrator, depending on the size or the function of the organization, can decide to restrict the creation of things because a lot of things come with it. A SharePoint is created with your teams. A group, Microsoft 365 group is created for it. Notes is created. A lot of things are created alongside. That's why on your channel, if you click on the plus sign on adding a tab, you can add more features to it, which can be incorporated. Now, the idea of Microsoft itself, of Microsoft for Microsoft Teams, is that you can bring a lot of things to your Microsoft Teams. That means you can make your Microsoft Teams to be your go-to app, meaning that you can bring your company application, you can bring in your third party, even inside Microsoft Teams, you can have Zoom. That's how funny it is, right? And under the channel, I talked about adding a member, right? You can click on manage a channel if you want to add the members. You can see you can edit the name. You can now. So for every member that is added to a channel, right, it is first added to the team, which is the root. So it's more of a parent and child relationship, right? It's more of a parent and child relationship. You can't add a member to a channel without first adding it to the team. Now, this is it. Yesterday, Joseph was making an example of where you have, let's say, an organization. Let's say we have can we come up with, let's say, an organizational name on the chart, please? So we can create one. So we can talk about the department and the group that can be added. Let's say, can we have a suggestion from the house, please? Okay, thank you so much for that. So we are going to create, thank you, Rashid, for that. So we are going to create a team under that. So now how do you create a team? You come to the teams. You click on the plus sign. You click on create team. Under create team, you type in the name. You can put a description. Remember, I am not able to see the org. Joseph made mention of something. He said you can only create 5 org-wide in an history of a tenant, right? So we're going to create a public. I don't know. I prefer public because private is more restrictive, but we can have session where we create a private as well. So when you create a public, you can
by default, the general is created, but now Microsoft give us the privilege to set our own channel, which you have to create at least one channel in a team. So we can just say Tailwind HR or Tailwind General create. So when you create the Tailwind, you can come to the teams and add member. So you click on the three dots. You click on the three dots. Yeah, you click on add member. So add member, you can add users within your organization and users that are added as an external users, as a guest user from your Entra ID. So let's say Rafiah, yes, Emmanuel, right? Can click on add. This is us trying to add them as a test user. So now under the channel, if you come to manage channel, which is how you manage the channel, you can edit the name. If you are not cool with the name, you can edit the name. These are what you can do on the channel, but I want us to be able to you can rename the channel also from here. Let's create another additional channel, which is a private, right? Add a channel, let's say Tailwind Tech, right? Private. So when you create a private, this is us creating a private chat. Now we can add a member. Let's say I want to add someone that is not part of the team. That's Emmanuel. No, we have Emmanuel already. John. So now we are not able to add this person here because one, this person is not a member of the team. So if you look at, let's say Emmanuel now, we can add Emmanuel because Emmanuel was once added to the team. So if you click on add, you'll be able to add that name. So like it's more of a parent-child relationship from between the teams which you've created and the channels. So if you need to add anybody to your channel, you need to first add the member from your teams. You need to add the user first to the teams. Then you can now add that person to your channel. So then the difference between private and public, I believe Joseph talked about it yesterday, where you can decide to have an encoded unit within a unit, right? You don't want the tech department to have any information relating to the HR. Most HR people claims that their information is confidential because it has both the your records, your salary based and other things. So they don't want it to be in the public. So you can create a private channel for them. For tech, they might tell you that they don't want, there are some technical things that they will be discussing. They don't just want anybody to be added. So one of the reasons why private is needed is that a user needs to be authorized to be added, not like the public that anybody, you can decide to make it open to everybody and people can search for it and join. So after that, under the post, we talked about the post itself, the reaction and everything, and admin can restrict that. So we are going to go to calendar, right? So now, our teams, as I was talking about the relationship with other things, the calendar is related to the Exchange calendar, meaning that an add-on is added that you can enroll for your on your Outlook, which can make all the meeting that you've created on your Teams visible on your Exchange email. Because the Microsoft Teams calendar itself is not alone. It is sitting on the Exchange online calendar infrastructure. Right? So let's create a meeting. Let's create a test meeting here. So how do you create a test meeting? You can go click on the calendar. You can check through the dates. Which one, let's say you have on Wednesday, you want to have a meeting with someone for, let's say 7 a.m. So you can scroll up and down for the timelines. So you can see the time. If it says 7 and on Wednesday, so I'm going to take the question. Okay, before I proceed to calendar. So what can you do in team? Now, team can be a general town or opening for everybody in your organization or in a department, right? That's when you create a team, by default before, or now you can create a general platform that all the information, everybody in that team have that information, like the general one, or you can name it anything you want to have it, right? That means everybody that is added to the team have that information. Inside the team now, let me come in this aspect. In IT departments where I work, we have different. Hello, can you hear me? So in IT departments, you can have different units. You can create a team for IT. And inside the IT, you can decide to have, let's say, network, can decide to have the infrastructure, you can decide to have the automation, you can decide to have them as subunits or subgroup, and you want them to have individual informations. After the whole thing, there are general information that needs to be communicated to the IT. So you can post that on the general communication channel. And the other ones for infrastructure, you can create a channel separate for each subunit. So that the feature, what you have there is almost related. It's just you classifying your people into subsessions. I believe I'm able to answer your question as regards teams and channel. So can we proceed? So for the calendar, we said we want to create a meeting for Wednesday, 7 a.m. So you can come here on your Teams, select the time. Now you can select the time and double click, and you can create a meeting. Or okay, I'm going to answer the question on the external users, please. Or let me just finish this calendar. I'm going to come down to the external users on that. So, or you can come here to new meeting. When you click on new meeting, you can now select the time. Now, for every meeting, you should have like a title, like a description, like an information for your meeting. Let's say units ed meeting, right? You can decide to have your attendees added. Now, for the attendees, for users in your organization, you need to just specify, let's say, first name of the user. But for users outside of your organization, you have to type in the email address if they are not added as a guest user in your organization. So you can type in, let me use one of mine. So it's telling you is an external user, right? I can type in another one just for users that are not within your organization. So how do you know? It's telling you external. That means the users are not within the organization. Let me add someone in the organization that we can use. You can say, and now there's something that these teams tries to give to you for users within your organization. When you want to schedule a meeting, you can see if the user is free, if he has another meeting, or if he is busy, right? When you say free, means that the user is free for this particular time. So we have to set the time. So we come to the date itself. We said Wednesday, 27th. We said 7 a.m. So you can scroll up to the 7 a.m. based on the time. And you can select if the meeting is going to be for all day, if the meeting is going to be for 30 minutes, or if it's going to be for an hour. You can initiate a start and an end date. Here you are able to see if this user is free for the meeting, right? By then, you can send your invite. Now, you can decide to have it as a repeated meeting, meaning that you want to, let's say, every month, every day, maybe there is a stand-up meeting within the unit organization, which has to be every day. You can set that to be every day. You can decide to be weekly. It might be a monthly town hall that you want to set. You can be yearly, and you can customize it based on what you want. And you can decide that you don't want it repeated. This daily here, the difference between this daily and every weekday is that this daily also covers for Saturdays and Sundays. But every work day means it's only within Monday to Friday, which is the ideal work day in some organization. Right? So that's the difference between the every day, every weekday, and daily. Daily moves to Saturday, Sunday. Now you can decide, instead of you adding this what's it called? The attendees, which is optional, you can also make it to be a meeting within a channel. We are still going back to I'm still going to show you some things in the channel we've created, but you can decide to, we created this one, you can say, oh, General, you want to create a meeting for it, so it will be available. You can decide to send personal invite to every member. And if you don't send personal invite to every member, it's going to drop a link into the channel for everybody to see. Right? Now, add location. I think in Exchange, you are able to create a location. I don't know. So now this location standing like a venue. Now, let's say that you want to have a physical meeting, but you want to schedule the meeting via Teams. So under device and rooms, you will have created, let's say, all one, all two, depending on the organization office. So now you can now decide to select based on what you've imputed when you are creating that room in Exchange, right? You can decide to select the room. Let's say you want to use all one for your meeting. It's going to be a physical meeting, but you want to send the invites via Teams. You can select it, the location if it is set. On my environment currently, I don't think anything is set. Now, if the admin gives or grants the privilege to record, which I believe someone asked yesterday that can you restrict user to record or not, which Joseph answered that the admin can decide to restrict that. So now, if it is allowed, you can decide that record and transcribe automatically, meaning that you can enable recording when the meeting starts. So when someone joins, the meeting it sets. It starts recording. Now, for bypass and lobby. Now, this is the idea of bypass, and this is the idea of lobby. Lobby is just like a waiting room. Let's say that your organization, your meeting is set for like an interview, right? And you want to make use of the same link for the interview. Yes, you can decide to create your meeting and edit and send it out to each individual. Let's say 1 for 10. The other user that is coming in will be 10:30, 11, 11:30, like that. Now you can decide to create a lobby, meaning that it's like it's a waiting room. The user, when it tries to join the link, will be moved to the waiting room, which is called lobby in Teams, which an organizer or a member of the meeting can now decide to accept the user into the meeting. That's what lobby stands from. It's just a waiting room. So not that everybody will just move into your meeting. So it depends on what you want to do. So now in a situation where you don't need, maybe it's a town hall meeting within your organization, you don't need anybody to be in the lobby. You can decide to bypass it, meaning that I don't want lobby. So Teams gives room for every situation or every condition that you want to make use of. Now, under bypass of lobby, what is set by default here is everyone can bypass lobby. But you can decide that people in my organization, trusted org, and guests. For your guests, user, they need to have been added as a guest user on your Entra ID. Right? Now, trusted organization means that the whitelisted domains that you've added on your security, right? You can you can block or you can whitelist domains, right? So it's going to fetch from the information on your security and compliance page. Is this domain part of the trusted or whitelisted organization? If not, the user is going to be in the waiting room, in the lobby. Now, people in my organization and guests, right? You can decide to say people in the organization, people who were invited, meaning that people that you've invited as your attendees can bypass lobby. Or you can say that you want to monitor, you want to take charge of everything. Only organizer and co-organizer will be the one to bypass lobby, because the organizer itself needs to start the meeting. Because if the organizer is not in the meeting, who is going to accept anybody? So by default, the organizer in any of this scenario, it's part of people that can bypass lobby. Can you hear me, please? So down to this box here. Now, in your meeting, you can decide to drop a short message. So this will be imputed in the email that will be sent out to the user. You can say this is very urgent. I don't want anyone to miss out of the information that will be shared. So you can have this, you can add it to your agenda. You can add an agenda, meaning that under the agenda now means that what are the things you want to discuss in the meeting? Just like the normal agenda, you can add it as part of the information. Then when you are done, you send. When you are done, you send. When you send this information, like I said, is going to, let's go to, we selected our channel. So let's go to our channel. Let's see if we have it there. Can you see it here? So you can see unit end meeting. It's as scheduled. Anybody in this channel can just click on this link and join, because this is the channel that we select that they need to be added to this meeting. So let me try and go to my Gmail. So on my Gmail here, right, you can see the meeting invite has gone out. And you can see the message that I typed the other time. This is very urgent. I don't want anyone to miss out of the information that will be shared. This is sent across. So now on the meeting invite, right, that you got, you can decide to accept, maybe, or no. When you say no, means that you won't be available. Yes means that you've accepted the invite. Maybe means that you are indecisive at that moment, right? Good. So for users that are on Microsoft 365, on your Outlook, this what's it called? This Teams calendar is added to your Teams automatically, to your calendar. You can go to your calendar and you are going to see it there added, because like I said, it's an infrastructure that is added to your that is dependent on the Exchange calendar infrastructure. So if you create any test calendar, you can go there and you will see it on your calendar itself. So if you scroll up, you will see it here. Now, if you are the organizer, let's say the management decide that this meeting now won't hold by 7 o'clock again, let's say they've moved it, you can click on the Teams and edit. So you can make modification to what you sent. You can decide to change the time, right? You can decide to remove people that will be added. You can scroll down and change the information, right? And you can send updates. This update that you are sending is going to send another email that the initial meeting has changed. This is the new update. And on your Outlook calendar, the calendar position is going to change. So now, inside this meeting, you can have it create a chart. Let's say that let's create another one, right? Let's create another test meeting. So here, you can, up here, you can see different things you can say. Here now, when you are creating the meeting, you can say working elsewhere. These are the things that your own what's it called? Your own information of your status that can be shown on your Microsoft Teams when you have joined the meeting. You can decide to state that it's tentative, working elsewhere, out of office. This by default, when you join a meeting, your Teams meeting icon, when I mean icon here, it's up here. Here, it shows busy. You can decide to modify this based on what you are doing. You can decide to set offline, even though you are currently working. Just let's say in a situation where you're working over the weekend and you don't want people to know you are available, you can appear offline. You can decide to set it to busy. You can say don't disturb, depending on what you want. So when you create a meeting, you can also determine what should icon, right? Category, you can have this color category is almost similar to the same thing you have on your email. You can have your email, let's say from this to be in a color category, just depending on what you want. This is your flexibility. This is what you can decide to do. You can leave it as none. You can play around with the category. Now, the time zone, let's say this is picking UTC +1 West Africa because I selected it and this is what is on my system. Now, in a situation, let's say you're outside of the country, you can decide to set the time frame of where you are so that the notification and the reminder can be in that time zone, right? And it will be communicated to anybody that needs that information. Response, you can allow request, response, or forwarding, right? That's allow forwarding in meaning that you want it to be forwarded to another person. You can restrict it that it won't be forwarded. Request response. Now, request response is what comes in a situation where I showed my Gmail. You can say yes, maybe, and no. You can decide that you don't want any response. But if you select this option here, it's going to give that option. So when a user is accepting, it can decide to send a response to you, oh, I'm available. Then some will tell you that I'm not available. They'll select no, right? In such scenario, you are able to have an holistic view of people that will be attending and people that will not be attending. Request registration for people in your organization, for everyone. So you can decide that they should authenticate, they should be registered, right? By default, it's set to none because it assumes that you have a username and a username to sign in. Now, in this request registration comes in a situation, let's say that you are joining the meeting and you are not signed into the Microsoft Teams, right? You can say people in your organization, that means people sign in and it will pick the username. But if you are using let's say you are using the web and you don't have your team sign in, you know, it will ask you to enter first name, last name, or a name that will be displayed. So that's why it's always set to none. But you can decide that you want them to sign in so that they can use their organization account to join the meeting. You don't want external or you don't want people to sign into that. Any questions so far on that? Okay. So schedule assistance, right? Like I said, where you have the free busy and other things, this schedule assistant you can add attendees. You can have a schedule of when they are free, right? Let's say that you want everybody to be available, but this is much effective if everybody status on Microsoft Teams and their calendar is right. Let's say that an organization, every meeting you have to attend needs to be on Microsoft Teams or needs to be on the Microsoft Outlook. You can add the attendees and you can see when they are free or when they are busy or when they are engaged, right? So this helps you to have a view of how their day looks like. So that's where you can add as many attendees that you'll be inviting, and you'll see their how free, how their timeline works. So that is that. So back to Teams. Someone asked the question that how do you add a guest? Right? Now, depending on the permission or the policy set by the administrator. When I say administrator now, in the aspect of teams, the two important administrator is the teams administrator and the global administrator. Right? The teams administrator can make a lot of modification on your team's policy because the person is the one, and the global administrator is someone that has like all the admin rights. Right? It's as the SharePoint, the Teams, the Exchange, the security and governance, and others, other platform. So if okay, I'm going to look at that. So when under here, the team owner or the team creator, if it is allowed by the administrator, click on add user here. Let's say Ifeoluwa Omotoso.com. Now, it's telling you that we didn't find any match. Talk to your IT administrator, the scope of your search. Now, the reason why this is not listed here is because this account is not added on my Entra as a guest user. Now, let me go into another environment. Okay, just hold on, please. Just hold on. Just give me a minute, please. Admin.microsoft.com. So I want to log into our test environment, the one that we are using for this course, right? The one that everybody have access to. So as one of the admins, so let's go to Entra. I know that they've taken us this, but I just need to show us once again because it will be needed. This is the entra.microsoft.com. I'm logged into this interface because two things. It's either I'm the global administrator or I'm the user admin, right? Under users, you go to all users, right? All users, I can, under new user, if you want to add a guest now, under new user, you click on new user and you can invite an external user. So this user is going to get an invite to accept when you've created this event. So let's go to all users. And when the user has accepted, you are going to see something like this, a guest. So let's user. So this is how you know who a guest is. So let me log into Teams on this one. So you come to, now on the web, I'm going to use the web for this. So you click on Teams, you can make use of that. When you log in as a user, you can come here to the 9 app launcher here. You can select any of the application. This application interface is dependent on the license that is assigned to you. So some people, the view might be different from another because of the license that is assigned depending on their organization. Okay. So one of the reasons why I'm trying not to use this environment for this training is Microsoft Teams has different view based on the type of tenants you have. Let me reiterate that again. Microsoft Teams has different view based on the type of your Microsoft 365 tenants. The environment we are using for tests is an educational tenant, right? And it's an educational tenant because we are using it to teach and we are using it for our repo. Now, the view of the Microsoft Teams fits in on educational package, meaning that you are going to have things like classes, teachers, and others, assignments, and other things. But the goal is it's making your class view on the physical sense to be in a virtual way. That yes, you can decide to submit your assignments, and the teacher can decide to put a timeline to that, and people that can submit, and it can also upload the scores and other things. The one we are using is a Microsoft 365 commercial, which is for business, right? It's suiting into the office settings, right? So the educational tenant is different from the office settings. So they have things in common. The charts you have, the teams you have, they are in common, but there are other additional features that is not added to all. The calendar is the same all through. Now, for the class, your class and your office are not the same settings. So the view of your office and that of when you're in school is quite two different things. Now, for the NGOs, for the non-governmental organization, is also different, right? So you can only know the difference when you have accounts based on these various tenants. Now, we have two different tenants currently open. The one I used for the previous demo, which we are talking about the guest user, is that of the Microsoft 365 for Business, right? The one we are using for our simulation in our class, in our test environment that is provided by this by this community is that of education. That's why when you've been creating your users, you notice that you are assigning some license, you see teacher and students, right? So those are the differences. So now for this environment, you can see the activity is there, which was mentioned. You can do the art mention on red and other things, which is just like a notification. The charts, you can have one-on-one charts, you can have one-to-many charts, right? The teams is there. Now, the teams on, I'm going to come back today. Let me not mix it up with what we are doing, right? Because it's like, it's still the same Microsoft Teams. Now, if the let me check if we have any external user or any guest user here. I don't think I'm an admin on this environment. Hello, Rafiah. Okay. Hello? Can you hear me, please? So when, like I said, on using this example from this Entra ID, a user that is invited as guest from your Entra ID can be added to your channel or to Teams. So you need to send out the invite by clicking on new invite external user, and when the user, you can So you can type which display name you want. So you can say send invite. You can decide to also send a message, then you review and you invite. So you can see the process. So look at it, it says successful invited user. If I go to my Gmail now, I'm going to see the invites. Can you see? So I can decide to accept the invitation. When I accept the invitation, it's going to be added as the guest in that environment. So this is me accepting the invitation. So here I can send code to sign in. It sends to the Gmail again. Get the code. Why sending code is standing in place of username and password because it's the guest user, right? I can have access to. When I click on accept, right? If I go back to the admin page, if I search for Ifeoluwa, you can see it's added as test user here. So if I, as a guest user, so if I go to my teams, I'll be able to add these accounts as a guest user in my teams. So that's how you can add a guest user. So a question on the chart stated that how can we create meeting and also block the user's calendar? So when you create a meeting and you add the user as an attendee, right? An email is sent to the user, right? When the user receives the email, it will click on yes, the calendar will add automatically. Now, that's if the user is on Microsoft 365. For users outside of Microsoft 365, like my Gmail, right? You can see here, view on Google Calendar. So I can decide to download this calendar and add it. You can see the download option here. So when I download this calendar, I can add it to my Google Meet. So on my Google Calendar, automatically when the time comes, I'm going to get a notification that I have a meeting at so time. So that's that on calendar. So now Microsoft Teams has different face. Now Microsoft gives you an avenue, right, to do voice over internet protocol call. That's the VoIP. You can also have your phone system on Microsoft Teams, meaning that you can have a phone number that can dial people within and outside of your location. Now, this phone system is not currently available in all countries, right? This phone system is available in there's a list of the countries that this phone system are available that you can make use of them, meaning that you are going to have a dial pad 10 to 9 the same way. And now for you to have such, it is license dependent. So for everything you are making use of in Microsoft, right, it is relating to a license. The license is just like the key. Without Microsoft Teams license, you can't make use of Microsoft Teams. Without Exchange Online Plan 1 or Plan 2 or Kiosk, you can't make use of Exchange. So it's when you assign this license, this telephony system to when you assign this telephoning license to your account or to a user's account in your organization, the features will be made available. But by default, right, you can do teams to teams call, meaning that people within your, depending on the policy. So another thing, right, most of the things in Microsoft itself is governed by what we call policy. So you can restrict or you can accept. When we get to the admin page, we are going to see like calling policy, meeting policies, and other things. We are just going through the interface for now, right? So you can decide to have a user within or outside of your organization. If the admin permits external calling, right? You can call people if you know their email, right, that are on Teams. But if it's restricted, you can call people within your organization via Teams, right? You can decide to just click on the user, then call directly. So when you call the person, is going to ring at the other person's end. Two things: this user can decide to have some settings. Let's say if the user is set to do not disturb, when you call, the call can drop. There are other settings that you can make use of on this interface here for your Teams, right? You can decide to say forwarding or do not forward. You can decide to forward your call to a voicemail if you are busy, right? Maybe when someone calls you and you just reject the call, it's going to redirect the person to a voicemail. You can decide not to use voicemail. You know, in Nigeria, one of the culture that we don't buy in is voicemail. We don't, when it's a user has been forwarded to a voicemail, when they call, we try to call the person again. But you can just leave a chat or a voicemail to the user for the user. So when the user is available, you can have a view of why you called, right? So this is why you can set forward to voicemail. More settings under the call. You can click on more settings. You can say call handling and forward to a voicemail, which is what we just talked about. When you can't answer a call, you can decide to redirect or to voicemail. These are things that you can do. Manage voicemail. You can decide to set now. Choose a ring. You can decide to choose any ring. This is just like a normal notification ring that happens. You know, there's this default one, that we always listen to, that is like some users, when they listen to that now, it's just like another thing entirely. So you can decide to change the voice, your ringtone of your Teams based on these ones that is set by Microsoft. Now, record a customized greeting. You can decide to, hello, my name is Ifeoluwa. How may I be of help to you today? Can you leave a voicemail because I'm currently busy? You can decide to record a greeting and set it. So when a user is being forwarded to a voicemail, the greeting comes in, right? You can decide to set the language of your greeting depending on the location, right? You can decide to set English and other language. Choose what happens when the call is redirected to voicemail, right? You can decide that the user can accept the record, play your greetings, then end the call, play greetings, then transfer to someone else. Now, transfer to someone else means that this is applicable in a situation. Let's say that you have a personal, a managing director and MD in your organization, or someone that can stand in as a relieving officer. Let's say you're on leave and you have a relieving officer that's standing for you, or let's say you have a personal assistant, or you just have someone that can cover that gap. You can direct the call, transfer the call to someone else. Meaning that the person doesn't need to specify. By default, when you select it, it will tell you to select the name or the number of the person, and you can direct your call to that person, right? So now, remember ESA, record a greeting. You can decide to type in your greeting, and automatically the systems helps you to move it into an audio format, right? And it's going to be the default sound. Message out of office. Now, in Outlook, you can decide to set out of office message, which by default, it's transferable to your Microsoft Teams. Now, out of office message comes in when, let's say, you are on leave, it's festive period, you are not available. It's just like you are not in the office at that moment. You can decide to set an out of office message, and you can have a greeting for that. That's why I say when Outlook automatic replies are on, this is just your all the time. So these are things you can set when you are out of the office for your mailbox. So by that, you can turn on, turn off as many features as it fits based on what you want, right? So that's that on call. So when we get to the admin page, we might talk a little bit about this call, because this call is another architecture on itself. This Microsoft Teams can fit into a call center, right? You can decide to have a call queue, a call forwarding environment itself that it can fit into your business, right? But you understand more of it when you get to the admin page. Now, this here is like your call history, just like the same way you have on your phone. Can have an history of what the calls you've made. Speed dial, you can decide to have someone as your speed dial itself, where you can type in the name of the person, or anybody just be on your speed dial. So if you add, you see it's added already. This is the company, all the information you need to set. Let's say M365. Right? So you can have it here as your speed dial, right? You can just click here and just call the person. You can add as many as possible on your speed dial. So does the call center? Yes. For the call center itself, it require another license. It's not it's another add-on license. So we call it add-on license, right? So you can have your phone system added to that, but then you have to, maybe when we get to the admin page, we are going to talk about that, because it's going to assign to an account that is not a user account, right? So when we get to the admin page, we are going to cover that. So I would like us to just exercise some patience till there, till then, right? So now, um, so now for your calls, you can decide to have your PC, and normally your PC mic and speaker to be used. You can decide to have a device. Now, having a device means that you want to set your audio device, maybe a Bluetooth speaker or an headset itself. So depending on the device you have, right, this is how you can add them. So now let's say that you have an external device added to your system, maybe an in itself. You see the option, so you can decide to use that. Now, in a situation where some organization use these conference call devices, right? You can decide to connect your Teams to a conference call device that has a general speaker itself, and it has its own standard uh, microphone. You can customize that here. You will have the option to select it from here. So when you select that, you can decide to make use of those devices for your meeting and calls. So automatically adjust mic sensitivity. So this is just like an AI feature that is added, that when your mic is low, it can dictate, automatically adjust for you if it's loud, if it's low. So these are just like an AI feature by Microsoft that just try to adjust the volume, reduce, and other things that is not controlled by human. You can now decide to turn it off if you want to. Maybe you want everything to be out. So sync device button. This is where you can check other devices if they are synced. You can test. This is just making a test call. This is going to provide like a demo call for you. Now, noise suppression. It's also an artificial intelligence for noise is not a noise suppression. So it reduces the background noise of your mic, right, in your environment. So high fidelity music mode. Majorly this is more on the sound side. You can leave it to be on default. You can decide to make a test or a play around that. So your video settings, you can decide to set your camera second ringer. That's when it rings the first time, you are not picking. This can be set to on another device, like an external device, so it can ring on two devices, right? So for cameras, you can decide to set your camera, which is part of your input and output. You can have an external camera that is added to your system if your webcam is not working. You can see you can adjust the brightness, set focus, green screen, and other things, right? So this is like a preview of how your camera looks like, right? So that's now on the call, right? You can decide to have a voice call or a video call, right? When you are calling the person, you can decide to switch to just normal call or a video call, just the same way you have on your WhatsApp. So that's on calls. Any question on that? So if no questions, this is OneDrive. Like Joseph said yesterday, when you are on your charts, one-on-one charts, one-on-one on one-to-many charts, on your normal chat button, all the files that is shared in that is saved to a OneDrive. While all the files that is shared within a channel or a team, it's saved to SharePoint. So this is just you having an like an history, like an overview of what has been shared, what is in your OneDrive and other things. This is just like an overview. You can see the owner, the location, and other things, who edited it, and that. So this is just the same thing that was covered. If you look at this interface very well, it's the same thing that Yomi covered on. Now, one thing about Microsoft Teams that is interesting is that you can add other Microsoft applications to it. You can bring your own organizational enterprise application to it, and you can bring other certified applications by Microsoft to it. So you can search, you can click on Get More App, you can scroll down, you're going to see different apps that you can add. Now, what you have here are just like the default Microsoft app, but if you scroll down, you can see YouTube, can add your YouTube, can add your Jira for project management. You can have Poly for questions, workflow, power apps, reminders, a lot that you can add. You can even, like I said the other time, if you look at it, you can add your Zoom. A lot application can have over, I think, over 1,001 plus application added. Now, there are some applications you can embed based on what you want to achieve and what your organization stand for. Now, some people want to have like an attendance marker or something in their organization. You can look for which one fits to what you have and set here, and you can add it to Microsoft. Right? How do you do that? You just search for the application attendance, click on add. When you click on add, you are going to see some terms and condition itself that is added. So you have to read through before you accept to know that if this fits into what your organization wants, right? To say you need to add some additional permission. Now, these tenants I'm using, the admin doesn't grant me the privilege to just add any application. So based on the policy, I have to now reach out to the admin. Oh, admin, oh, I need this thing. No, this is the justification for it. My team leader has approved. Then the admin will now grant me access to this. Now, two things. This can be deployed if I'm granted a policy to make use of this, or the admin can enable that from the backend. So if the admin enables it from the backend, it means that this application will be available to people in the organization. So now there are some default applications that the admin can add. So when you click here, you just see the application, you see some of them that is already added. And if there is need for approval for depending on the organization I work for, if you need to add a lot of things, you have to go through a chain of approval. Then when it's approved, then the administrator will deploy it to you or to your unit or to general. So any question on the Microsoft Teams interface? The question can be from what yesterday teaching and today's teaching. You can hello, Emmanuel.
Hello, Ife.
So,
Good evening.
yes, please. Yeah, good evening. Thanks for that. So I was just trying to like if there's any question on the Q&A session that is being asked by the user. So before I try to touch some other things on the Microsoft Teams interface so far.
Okay. There are some questions. Maybe you should just screw. There are some questions on the. There are some questions. So should I just go through the question, or when you are done, we just combine everything? Because we just have few minutes to 10.
Okay. So okay. So I'll just let me see what I can do in the next. I don't know how many questions is there, so that we can have more time. You know, what we wanted to look at is let's cover the Microsoft Teams user interface this week. By next week, we are going into the admin end and administrative end fully, so that we can now relate how this policy, how these things change. So so now on the Microsoft channel, right? I forgot to mention that you can also add some applications based on the view or what you want, right? You can decide to click on the add tab, manage apps, and also add each of these approved application on the channel. If just the same way you have it on the application, on the app for the user, you can also add it to this, right? So now inside the channel, right, you can decide to have an emergency meeting, right? And that is on, you come here, you click on meet now. When you click on meet now is meet now. Like you want a meeting now. It dials everybody that is in that channel. Now, the other time we talked about calendar, right? We're able to go to calendar and create a meeting and select the channel. You can click on this drop down outside this camera view. You can see schedule a meeting. When you click on schedule a meeting, automatically it populates the channel bar here, because you are creating the meeting from the channel. So it fills in this this box automatically for you, right? You can set the title. The title is majorly a brief or to your meeting, or it's just something that is a general information. It's advisable you use something relating to the meeting you want to create, so that by look of it, it's just like a title, just like the title of your email, right? When you do that, you can send the meeting invite. It will appear just like this as well. So under the meeting, right, there is, so what if I have a Teams on my phone? What if I want to join as a dial-in? Is it possible? Can I dial into a meeting with like a phone number into a meeting? Yes. So under Microsoft, right, they grant the feature that you can dial a meeting number into the meeting, meaning that when you send out the invite, let's edit, right? Let's edit. If you scroll down, you can see meeting ID. Now you can dial this meeting ID. This is just like a phone number, right? Is going to ask you for a passcode. This is like a passcode to that particular meeting. And when you dial this meeting, it will automatically, there's a voice response. It will tell you that provide the passcode. Without the passcode, you won't be admitted into the meeting. Meaning that you can dial in into the meeting. Now, when you dial in into the meeting, you can communicate. But now, this is the clause, right? There's what we call toll-free and toll number. Now, toll-free is when the organization is paying on your behalf. Meaning that when you dial into the meeting, there's going for the toll-free number, you're going to have another special number itself that is created that will title toll-free, but currently in this environment is not set. So the toll-free number means that when you dial in, Microsoft is going to remove the money from the organizational pockets. So there's other numbers that you can call in. Now, you know that most of these numbers that to the organization is the tariff of the country you are calling from, right, determines the charge. So Microsoft had this meeting option here. Like if you click on your control button and select If you click on the control button and click on that link, it's going to open a link for you. Sorry, it's trying to sign in with another account. Copy this link and go into picking my default sign in. So these meeting options gives you a privilege to make, sorry, okay, let me do something. Sorry, please for that. Let me. So let me open a private window. I just want to show us how the meeting option interface looks like. Most people used to, so this is where the meeting organizer can decide what happens on that particular meeting. So this is different from the general bypass this thing that is rated. This, if you scroll down from the audio, you can decide that all mic for attendees, you can decide that you mute it. Now, if you notice in most of our meetings, because of distraction and other things, we do mute users' mic. All right. This is where you set that for that particular meeting. Allow camera is turned off as well. Provide card caption. This is the card caption itself, but we don't make use of it. By default, is turned off. Q&A. If you notice in our session, there's a Q&A session where you have it at the top. Even though we are making use of the chat, you can turn it on or turn it off. Allow reaction is turned off on. You can decide to turn it off depending on how your meeting is, right? Allow attendees reports, right? Roles, can decide roles, how it happens. You can, this is where, if you notice when you are creating a meeting, there's no place for you to select a co-organizer, right? This is under the meeting option that you can select a co-organizer who can present. You can decide to restrict people that can present in your meeting, right? Meaning that those that can share screen, those that can share their documents to view, right? Interpretation in a situation where you have language barrier based on the location, you can have interpretation itself set. Record and transcribe automatically. This you can do it on the meeting interface. Co-pilots, you can also allow co-pilots, right? This is currently is turned off because the admin needs to enable this for us to make use of it, right? So those are the things. Now, for the toll free and toll number that I was talking about, right? It's also subjected to a license. So if you want to enjoy more features of Microsoft, you have to work or pay for add-ons, meaning that add-ons is just like plugins, right? It's just like additional value that you want to enjoy in some of these Microsoft's resource. So on these notes, I'm going to say that I'm open for questions as regards Microsoft Teams clients usage. Emmanuel, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that wonderful section. That was really an interesting one. So you have some questions on the chat. So let me just start with the first one here. So just let me just check it. Somebody said, what's the relationship between Teams and channel? The person now
Okay,
goes ahead to say,
yeah,
what can you
go
do
ahead,
in
please.
Teams created that you can't do in the channel?
Okay, so I think I made mention of the teams and channel. Like the teams is just like the general body, the channel is just like the subgroup. So for every team that is created, by default, a channel comes with it, right? The team is just like, let's say a department or like a governing body, because things that you can do in Teams that you can't do in channel is that user that is not added to a team can be added to a channel.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
A general
And
team,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
So someone still asked again, he said, how do you add external users to a channel?
So for external users to be added to a channel, right, which is a guest user, first of all, it needs to be added to the Entra ID, right? You need to send an invite to an external user on Entra ID. That's when the user accepts, you can now add that user or invite that user to your channel or to your team.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. So there's another one again, although this one looks quite tricky, Sha. But the question is, how can we create a meeting and also block the user's calendar?
So what I understand by the word block a user calendar, meaning that you want it to be visible on a user's calendar, right? Meaning that for the user, Microsoft by default itself, when you create a meeting, it is added um to the Microsoft Outlook. It comes in, it's part of your it's also on your Teams itself. But for external users, let's say Gmail, Outlook, they need to manually download it and add it to their own email. But now that's where for Microsoft user within your organization, that's where the schedule assistance comes in, right? You can see the user's busy schedule when he's free and other things. So those are what we call free busy features that is added on Microsoft that you can leverage on to know when a user is free or busy on for a meeting. And also a notification, let's say 15 minutes notification will prompt for the user on Outlook when it's 15 minutes to your meeting, and it counts down to when the meeting starts. If the user does not didn't disable that notification can go as long as far as even after the meeting, that you've missed this meeting, and there will be a countdown of the time. Let's say within 24 hours, meeting overdue 24 hours. So that's that.
Okay, thank you for that. This one is coming from Rashid Oshodi. So the question is, please, does the call center feature require a different license or does the regular team license suffice?
So the regular Teams license doesn't surface, right? Because the call queue, the auto attendance feature is another thing entirely. When we get to the admin page, we are going to see how that comes in, but it comes with its own package of license, which is different from our Microsoft Teams. Because the license that is used is a phone system non-user. So the name might have changed, but it's going to tell you that it differentiates between a user and a non-user. So for a contact center or a call center, it is a non-user account that will be created, which is another license itself.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that, Light. So another question here is, could you please explain this attendance add-on? How does it work?
So attenders, there are different attenders add-on. So these are people that have created their own applications. Let's say that some organization they don't want to do the manual book add-on for a user. They don't want to what's it called? They don't want to, for some organization when you walk in, there's a one long book that you have to sign when you are in, when you are out, and append your signature and other things. For this, when you sign into your teams, it depends on the one that suits or fits into what your organization wants to achieve. You can add it, and user, when they click on it, it's clocking for them. And when you can decide when they clock in and clock out so that gives them like a working shift attendance. And this notification is sent to the admin or whoever that is assigned to.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that one. So there's another one here again, which the question is, can the menu be arranged to my taste? I guess the person is talking about the Teams menu.
So the Teams menu, this is it, you can click, drag, you can move based on what you want. So Microsoft gives you the feature to do that. So you can right click, you can decide to unpin, depending, you can decide if let's say this OneDrive now, unpin, it's gone.
Okay, thank you very much. So this one is,
I click and pin back.
oh, okay. So Said now is asking a question. He's saying, is adding members to a channel, can this only be done by sharing the channel link?
So adding a member to a channel, if you come to the channel here, right, you can click on, let's say this one, click on these three dots, more option, you can click on add members, right? You can type in the person's email. But like I said, the user you'll be adding needs to be in the team, needs to be part of the team.
Okay. Okay. So someone is asking a question here. He's talking about gateway. So he said that, how can you create gateway on team? You now go ahead and saying, let's say you want to book leave. You could click on the gateway. Just ask him because I noticed it's in my org team. So I don't know if you get that question.
I don't really get that question as regards gateway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the person can buttress more on it, because when you are saying gateway, I believe is in the aspect of network. So I need to have more information about what you meant by the word gateway.
Yeah, because that was what came to my mind actually. So there is a question here from Chibu Najo. So he's saying that, can a user add the free or busy feature to his profile?
Yes. So these are the features that you can see by default, because I'm sharing my screen on this tenant is showing presenting. Now there are more features that are in Microsoft that you won't see. But these ones are the ones that you can set yourself manually. There's what they call out of office. When you set out of office, maybe on your Teams or on your Outlook, it shows out of office. You can be available and be out of office. You can be on a call and be out of office. So there are more features that is outside of it. But if you want to set busy, all you just need is to come to your initials up here or your image. If you have an image set, click on this. You can select whatever you want. And you can even set the duration that you want it to be. You can have a time itself, that itself, and half for this was customized. And that's that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ifeoluwa Omotoso. Wow. Nice time, nice time, nice time. I can see that some people are already saying that they want to connect with you. So let's give a round of applause for our mentor today. So you could connect with Ifeoluwa Omotoso on LinkedIn. So if you search for Ifeoluwa Omotoso, you will see him on LinkedIn, and we'll also share his LinkedIn profile on our WhatsApp platform, Telegram platform, and also on our Teams platform. So thank you very much. Thank you. I can see a lot of round of applause. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you. Thank you. So I would like to hand over to Rafiah. So Rafiah, please, you can just give us an announcement, or maybe if you have anything to add.
Yeah,
If you are
thank you
okay.
so much, Emmanuel. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Ifetu, for that wonderful presentation. Nothing really much to add than to just encourage everyone to continue practicing, right? Make sure you revise your classes, like everything you've been taught. I think so far so good. Everyone has access to the test M365 tenants. Please take time. Don't just like would I say find time to, or just find a way to manage your time while you're studying for your exams. Also find time to go through the classes that have been taught between yesterday and today. So yeah, nothing really much aside from the good news we got today. Our very own, I did say, Madam Olajumoke got the award, the Global Award, as the Tech Entrepreneur of the Year. It's a very well deserved award. So yeah, I saw all your reactions and the messages. We appreciate you all as usual. So we also encourage everyone in every little way, anywhere you find yourself, try as much as possible to contribute to the community, right? They say hard work pays. I know even despite the fact that she's a CTO, she still creates time. The vouchers that we've given out, like the little time I've spent with her has been so inspiring. Like over the night, she stays up till like 3 a.m. She sort for most part of the vouchers that we're giving out, she sorted those names out herself, even when she still had office work to do. So yeah, we encourage you guys to keep up the good work, keep studying, do not get discouraged. Whatever it is you want, there's no shortcut to success. You have to prepare, you have to work hard, you have to put in the effort. And I want to assure you guys that it pays, right? It pays. The people you see teaching you, they've spent years, and they're teaching you from experience, right? Yeah, I think if as a person works in a bank, and I don't know how much he earns, but I know he's doing very well. So M365 is very, when I say very marketable, in the sense that there's nowhere you would go to with the M365 skill that you wouldn't you're not just earning money like the regular kind of money. You're earning that kind of money that you did live very comfortably. So whatever you're learning here, please do not take it for granted. It might not make sense to you now, but in the near future, you did appreciate this. I know many of you appreciate what we've been giving you so far. Yeah. And for those that are still in doubt, please just take your time. You can't get to know everything. We learn on the job, right? The more you practice, the more you do your hands on, the better, and the more you get to understand how the whole M365 administration works. Yeah, so I think Ife has shared the link, his profile link with you. I wouldn't want to take much of our time. If you have questions, like I said, please reach out, connect with Ife. He would answer your questions. So as regards the study groups, I can see some questions there. We'll find time to answer your questions, please. And yeah, thank you all so much for your presence. We really appreciate your commitment and your support so far. Do have a good night rest, everyone, and have a great, productive, blessed week. Yeah, congratulations to Madam Toriola. She's seen all your messages. You can also engage with the comment. I don't know if we've dropped any on LinkedIn, but I think we should have that on LinkedIn too. Thank you all so much for your congratulatory messages. Have a good night rest, everyone. Bye for now. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you. It's a win for everybody, right? It's a win for everyone. Yeah, the recordings would be made available tomorrow, hopefully. So bye, guys.